recording, and we are going live now. Welcome to the Baron's Hideout Podcast. I'm your host, Dustin.
And I'm your co-host, Aaron.
And today we have a special guest, LKDrums, or Logan Kennedy, or Logan on Drums, if you guys know from like months and months ago. And we have him here to kind of discuss Halloween, the original 1978 one, and maybe touch up on some of the other ones that are going on. We have our Michael masks here. He's got his actual Michael behind him that's stalking him. Logan, if you want to let everybody know where they can find you, what you do, and I don't know, entertain them for a little bit.
Cool, right on. Yeah. The Michael behind me too. We made a pact before the podcast, so I don't think he's gonna do anything crazy. At least that's the pact anyway. But yeah, what's up? I'm Logan and LKDrums. I do a lot of drum streaming these days on Twitch. And that sort of became a thing, I think, for a lot of people, like, you know, during like the pandemic and shows kind of stopping and you know, this being a pretty good way to sort of, you know, express yourself through music in a way, you know, when the crowds kind of died down. Yeah, and it sort of became a thing where I was able to play drums pretty often and not actually have to leave the house to do it. But I also met a lot of really cool people along the way that were also, you know, streaming, whether on drums or, you know, in other forms. And that's how I met you guys. Actually, it was just basically through that, and stumbled on your podcast. Yeah, and you know, you guys being horror movie buffs, also, you know, and you know, I've played drums. I've played drums now for well over 20 years, and did a lot of touring and things like that. And growing up, listened to a lot of records, a lot of rock and roll, a lot of 80s hair metal, and
we love that stuff here.
Yeah,
we love it.
Yeah, totally.
Anything 80s, honestly.
Yes, well, being a kid from the 80s, you know, I mean, slasher movies kind of were like, you know, the go-to by default almost, you know, like that's
for sure.
That's kind of what we had. And you know, I mean, not even to just, you know, drop the bomb right off the bat, but Halloween was definitely, that was the movie that really inspired everything. If you think about it, you know.
Easily.
Yeah, it was also the very first horror slasher that I saw, and I think I always forget what age I was, but I know it was between the age 8 and 10, so I was really young when I saw the original one, and it scared the hell out of me. There's still some points during it that still get me. You know, I've seen the movie like at least 100 times over the years.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just how menacing and dreadful the whole movie is, and especially how low budget it was. Like they did such an amazing job with
working what they had and making it work. You know.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's still one of the best slashers of all time, in my opinion. I mean, there's a lot of other really good ones and a lot of like direct to video ones that are pretty good. But if I had to pick between like the big four, you know, like Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, and Michael, like Michael hands down is my dude. I love him so much.
I think you know, and I was having this talk with somebody not too long ago. They credit him as the Shape in the credits, you know what I mean? And that's like, you know, and they're like, you know, well, they call him Michael Myers, so like why is that? Why is he credited as something else, you know? And like, if you go back and you watch, you know, 1978, you know, John Carpenter's Halloween, you know, he only refers to him as the Shape, and they don't really like call him Michael. Like, I think his name was brought up maybe a few times, like a handful of times, but
yeah, just from I think Loomis. I think it was him, because obviously he was very close to him, but everybody else, like not really.
You know, and I think you know, Michael kind of you know, like you said, out of the four, you know, out of those four, you know, that really, I think he stands out so much because just sort of like the sort of the weird sort of backstory with him,
Yeah.
and like just how like the protagonist in that story was his doctor and somebody that was studying him and you know almost spent a good deal of his life trying to break through to this kid then turned adult that isn't you can't break through to him and I think the idea that you know that this is somebody that like has to be stopped like
Exactly.
right off the bat and for the doctor to be the one out there on the front line like trying to convince law enforcement that this is the type of person they're dealing with. I always thought that was the craziest thing because all of the other ones it's just the the bad guy versus the teenagers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
in a lot of regard, it is this too. But there's
It sets
just
itself apart, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's you don't really know what you're dealing with. You know that this kid did this crazy thing and was locked away, and then after that, it's just this like kind of like they put it like he's a force of nature like it's like watching an animal in the wild like
Yeah.
no real core like direction, it's just kind of doing its thing.
Yeah. Don't get in his way.
Yeah,
You know, he's trying to get to a certain spot to do a certain thing.
He's gonna get to it.
Yeah, and like if you're standing
Oh,
in his
yeah.
way, especially the newer films, like we definitely will get into
Yeah,
throughout this, but don't stand in his way. Like he has an objective, he knows what he needs to do, and even if you're not doing anything, and if you're not trying to harm him, if you're just standing there, you're guaranteed to just be torn to shreds in the most brutal way possible. And he's very menacing. In the first one, I like it a lot too, is because in 1978 there was very little use of blood, except for in the beginning when he stabs his sister, and at the end when Laurie's like all beat up and everything. But like all the other kills is no blood, and I feel like that kind of plays into I don't know something that makes it
Just because it
more
relies
terrifying.
more on like the the vibes he gives off, the score, and I feel like the blood wasn't that quite as necessary, because
Yeah.
he had like that menacing like vibe that he gave off,
Yeah, and he's always in the shadows. Like he's never really in the light unless he wants you to see him.
Yeah,
Um, it's crazy.
it's like he's always there.
Yeah.
very very Hitchcock, you know what I mean, because like
Yes.
back in that
Yes.
day, and I think that was definitely an inspiration when it came to that. And I mean later on like after learning a, a lot more about the production and what went on into making the film and everything,
Yeah.
you learn that they had to actually like they weren't allowed to really go crazy with the blood. Like it's really only used a few times, and it was like kind of this like they didn't want to do it because it wasn't a popular thing or
Yeah.
whatever the case.
Ratings also,
Oh yeah,
especially back
oh yeah,
then.
yeah.
That was
Well, and
78, so definitely like more blood means you're probably gonna get like an X rating or something ridiculous.
yeah, and there were only really like a handful of movies back in that day, that really that people honestly know about and could compare Halloween to, and I think the town that dreaded sundown is
Oh
a
wow,
decent
that's a
one.
film I have not heard in a long time. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, well, the same kind of the same sort of like idea that like this person is out there and you don't you know enough about him to know that no one's safe, and
Yes.
you know but again, like not many movies like that were really out there. And I mean, once Halloween happened, I mean, everything sort of started kind of falling into place with all the others, and you know Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger and everything. And I mean, Wes Craven and those guys were definitely doing those types of thriller movies back in that day, but like to just have this guy that or this thing in this mask, that's just
The
sort
It's
of
like
in
an
the shadows.
entity. Like
Literally an
Yeah,
entity. That's pretty much what they
yeah,
were going for. You know,
man.
very little backstory on him other than like what you saw.
which is why I think a lot of people didn't like the Rob Zombie ones, was because they went too much into his
Yeah,
story
I mean,
and tried to give him too much of a background.
I mean, sidetracking a little bit. I like Rob Zombie. I love his music and everything. I like the first Halloween Rob Zombie one just because
it was a different take on it. But
it was good, but I also really do think that he delved a little too much into Michael's backstory. That's what, not knowing his backstory is what made him very terrifying. And with Rob Zombie really going and like showing him this really brutal kid who did a lot of messed up things, I feel like kind of made him weak as he was older, in my opinion. And we're not even going to talk about Halloween 2 Rob Zombie because that's a whole nother discussion.
I think it was just like a more, like, I don't want to say realistic, but like a more realistic take on it. Like instead of having that, like, like we were just saying, like he's almost like a entity like type, like it turned him more human. I feel like in that one.
I guess, yeah. I can see that point.
Which it's like, I don't know, like
Well,
obviously
so
it's not as effective as the original.
Yeah,
but...
exactly.
I liked the idea that Rob Zombie, was doing a Halloween movie, and the trailer looked really cool.
Yeah.
And like the first one was, I mean, like now kind of looking back on it, wasn't a bad movie. It was cool that somebody kind of stepped in like him and kind of had his own sort of
Take on it.
iteration that and I thought that was really cool, but I didn't like how it was like they tried way too hard to like take certain details about the first movie and spin those off into a
Something
thing,
edited.
like like the matchbook that the nurse has with Loomis in the beginning of the movie.
It's like you didn't need to go that far with that. It was just kind of an interesting thing, Yeah.
Yeah.
A little Easter egg, or
Yeah.
Like the mask thing, like that he's like obsessed with masks in the hospital and like makes a bunch of masks and shit. Like
I like the
mean,
idea that he just went into a store and found a mask. He was like, "Oh, this is cool."
This will do.
and just used that one because it was the most terrifying that he found.
Or is the first one he saw.
Yeah.
Man, and it's knowing nothing about it is what makes it so crazy.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
I think not to derail, but I think honestly, like if Jason Voorhees, had just was just wearing the mask, you know what I mean? Like if he just showed up and your first appearance, like boom, this crazy guy in a hockey mask. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I don't think like they didn't have to explain how he found it, you know what I mean? And I think like that's sort of where Rob Zombie went wrong in a way, because like the boyfriend of his his sister is like just whips this mask out and like he's wearing
Yep.
like there's just kind of like little things like that, like you're just kind of trying to like
almost like beating
Loomis.
a dead horse. Like the mask kind of does it does like it's effective by itself,
Yeah. It's iconic. You don't need to do too much with it.
Well, and even like like in the original when Loomis is explaining, like they're up in Michael Myers's like family home, growing up, and he's like in the room and shit, and he's like talking to that police officer, and he's explaining to him, kind of what they're dealing with, and like firsthand, he's like, I watched him, for this amount of time, and for him to even say like, yeah, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, and I always like thought that was such a crazy line, like
it's still like it gives me goosebumps every time I watch the movie and I hear him say that, because it's terrifying.
It's delivered so well, man. Like the way he's like just, and it's so creepy. Like there's that sort of ominous music kind of happening, sort of slightly in the background.
It's almost like he's genuinely terrified too.
I mean, it's just
totally.
like this. Imagine looking at this mask and not seeing any eyes, and it's just darkness.
Well, and even before the mask, man, to like to see someone and to know someone, and to just the blackest like he's referring to the kid, like he's referring to
just
not
Michael
even like the
completely
killer,
not there.
like,
yeah.
So what pissed me off about Rob Zombie's take is like, Loomis writes a book called The Devil's Eyes, and like he kind of like, they sort of like took that whole like that Donald Pleasance delivery, and like that whole line, like detailing who this kid is, and then them just sort of like making it like Loomis is actually kind of like a pompous asshole that is trying to make a buck off of something cool that like the guy that he's almost like a reboot of.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah, thinking back at it even more and thinking about Rob Zombie's ones, I remember not liking Loomis. Like I kind of hated him. Like I wanted him to die. Compared to like the original, like Donald Pleasance and everything, you want him to kick Michael's ass. It's completely different in Rob Zombie's Halloween. Like he made him more of an
enemy,
more of an enemy than Michael was, in my opinion. And that's why I don't really revisit Rob Zombie's Halloween unless like I just feel like watching something really dumb and not really associating with anything and just want to see some brutal kills, because I mean obviously those ones have some pretty ridiculous kills in it. Nothing compared to like what Halloween Kills has. Halloween Kills is like takes everything up like 1 million, and we will definitely talk about that in a little bit. But out of all of the 1978 Halloween, like disregarding like anything else, what stands out the most to you when you watch this movie?
The newest one or 78?
78.
The thing that stood out the most, man, was honestly just, I mean, not Michael himself, you know what I mean, but just like the presence of Michael, and like just sort of like, knowing that he's out there and knowing that like, I don't know, just sort of that, that whole force of nature element to him,
He's watching you.
It makes you wonder where he goes to in between Halloweens. He just goes on vacation.
That's funny. Mad Vixen in the chat says the only good thing about Rob Zombie's 2007 Halloween was Danny Trejo. Okay, I can agree on that one. Danny is good in anything, so
he was a sweetheart, man. And
I think he was just a random dude in it. I don't think like
he was the custodian in Smith's Grove.
That's right.
He was like,
okay. I haven't seen that one in years, so.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I have to go rewatch it now that we're talking about it, just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like Danny Trejo, like just like that character, that like cared for this kid. You know what I mean? Like Michael came in all scared and shit, and Danny Trejo's like, "It's all right, little buddy."
Yeah.
Here's a machete. Everything will be all right.
I'll protect you. I got you.
But then, like, there was no reasoning with this humongous mask-wearing, Goliath, and
he was, oh my God, he was huge.
Just fell victim to it, man.
Like, I do have to give it to that actor. Like, he was menacing just because of how freaking tall and, like, super buff he was.
Like, even if he wasn't in the full jumpsuit, holding a knife and wearing a mask, I wouldn't fuck with him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I thought, I mean, and not to get completely off of your question. I mean,
that's okay.
Like I said earlier, like the one thing that really, kind of stood apart from from those films, like the thing that made Halloween so, crazy and unique, and apart from everything else, other than it kind of, paving the way, in that regard, was the fact that it was his doctor, that was like kind of after him the whole time, and almost kind of like Jaws, like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's a good way to put it.
Like, Michael's just out there, and there's this guy that's not afraid or anything, and he's running straight into that hellhole, and it's I thought that was the crazy thing, because like it always sort of ends up being, like the the camp counselors or the babysitters or whatever, that sort of like rise above and sort of, like, save the day a little bit. And you totally think that, like Laurie might, Laurie might have this, at one point. And I remember, like earlier on, like watching it, like how just sort of in awe I was of Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, of just how like just in that crazy situation she was, but she was always sort of like,
She kept
I
a
don't
brave
know.
face on.
Yeah, well, and she just kind of led on that she wasn't afraid. You know what I mean? Like she's freaked out, and like trying to keep the kids all right, but she like wasn't really afraid of him, and he's like
she was
busting
more
through
worried
that
about the
closet, and
kids.
she's just like trying to fabricate a weapon to fight back and shit. She's not just like
Give me that
cowering
wiring.
down. Yeah, so like you think that she's, and then boom, Dr. Loomis shows up and puts 6 in his chest, like it was him the entire time that was like trying to bring this sucker down, and you know, him and Michael and Laurie kind of have that whole like, maybe it's her versus him kind of thing, the whole time. And then the doctor shows back up to, sort of put the whole idea back in place, that he's trying to stop this guy. And, he was almost like the Jaws character, in a sense, because like he's just as much out there and like trying to,
I agree with that a lot, actually. I really do agree with that.
As much in the shadows, and it's that's the most interesting thing to me, you know what I mean? And like definitely Michael, I think, he's a cool character, but it's the whole like idea behind Michael and like what's going on and why, even though like you don't really know a whole lot, like you don't, I mean, other than the fact that you know killed his sister and then and then like spent time in the hospital and then escaped and then back in the hospital. Other than that, like the fact that there's no real
factor, like the mysteriousness of him.
Yeah. Well, and so I mean, you guys said like we wanted to sort of touch on all of the films, a little bit.
Yes,
and
definitely. I mean,
think like
good ones and there's really bad ones, but I enjoy them all.
Well, so like Halloween 2, the 81, Halloween 2 was to connect, with 1978, and it was the same night. It kind of picks up exactly, like it sort of shows him in the alleyway hiding from the cops, kind of.
Yeah, and, I love Halloween 2 a lot. That's definitely probably my second favorite.
Such a great movie. But I mean, so they made Laurie and Michael siblings in that movie.
Yes.
And then boom, there's motive. Like he's actually just, I guess, out to kill his family, or like.
Yeah, that's another thing that always kind of boggled my mind. Is like, was it was it actually his parents or his family that made him the way that he was? Is that why he?
Or maybe he was just fucked in the head.
Yeah.
You never know.
And like one thing, going back to 78, is one thing that Aaron and I were talking about when we originally reviewed the 78 one. Was we were trying to think of why would Michael want to kill his sister, and we were thinking, was he in love with his sister? Like, is it some kind of weird twisted thing where he was jealous that she was having these boyfriends and like she wanted him, and then realizing that she got a boyfriend and then they were doing stuff upstairs and he killed her?
You never know.
Or if something just in his head just like snapped and just made him wanted to start killing everybody. So those were things that we talked about a lot, and then with Halloween 2, with realizing that he has another sister, it's like, why would he want to kill her? Did Laurie do the same thing? We just didn't know that. Does he know this, or does he just want to kill his family just because of what his sister did?
Or his parents, or
So that's another like kind of confusing thing.
Well, so and I think that when they established that Michael and Laurie were brother and sister, and they ran with that, like all the movies after that, that was a pinnacle point, was that they were siblings. That's where Danielle Harris's character, Jamie, comes into play. Jamie's Laurie Strode's daughter, You know,
Yeah.
Laurie Strode.
And that was
you know,
always really weird too. It's like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, so they say that Laurie Strode was I guess killed in a car accident or some shit. In this newspaper article.
Yeah.
Later on down the road in Halloween H2O, she faked her death and like moved to
that's actually a
California,
pretty good
like,
movie.
fuck
I
this
enjoy
kid.
that one a lot.
I'm not taking my daughter. I'm not gonna let her know. I'm dipping out. But, so,
Bye.
and then Michael was after his niece. You know what I mean? Like they were moving him from the hospital, from one hospital to another, and he's in the ambulance, and they're like, yeah, only living relatives is niece back in Haddonfield or some shit. And then you see his fist all clench up.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I missed one.
You're like, oh, so he was just hell bent on killing his family off. So that whole idea, and so in the first one, they're not brother and sister. Like,
No.
they don't say that, but because of Halloween 2, you look back on 78 and you're like, they were brother and sister the entire time. And that's kind of what screws up the entire,
Like
the whole story, because then, it's not just some random thing. He's actually just after his own family members or something. And, like he killed off one when he was a kid, and he's just going to keep on killing them off until they're gone or something. But the only reason, so disregard Halloween 2 and disregard the idea that they're brother and sister.
Okay.
The only reason that Laurie Strode even came across Michael is because her dad owned that real estate company and was like, yeah, don't forget to drop the keys off at the Myers house.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. It just so happened that Michael was home. Like he just so happened to be home, and she came up all face to face with him, and then
that's right.
And then she walked off, and then he appears in the shot. Like,
it's why are you at my home?
Him watching.
Leave me alone.
See him, like he's yeah, exactly. He's just like, what the who's there? And she walks off, and he follows her. Like that's it. Like that's kind of how it all came to be. Like it just so happened that he was home. Yeah. And it just so happened she showed up. And then he became like kind of fixated on her a little bit and just
especially after like all of her friends yelling at him and stuff in the car. It kind of pissed me off too. It's like, what did I do to you? What did I do?
He's like a grumpy old man protecting his house. He's like, get off my lawn.
Essentially, that's one way to put it.
Sure, man. Yeah, and the whole time, man, they're just like being kids to a nice elderly old guy that like just trying to do his thing, and like speed kills, and he's like, I wasn't even speeding.
I know.
This is the 35. I was doing 33. But
Michael's just trying to live his life.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So like, what the hell? Just trying to do my thing. And so like, I think like the crazy thing about Halloween is like them not being brother and sister, and literally he's just stalking. Like he's just stalking.
I think it's that vagueness that makes it so scary.
For sure.
Yeah. Because like, when they ran with the sequels, and they were brother and sister, and then like, if you're a cousin or an uncle or any of that shit, like you're all done for.
Yeah.
When they did that, there became a lot more motive, and basically like if you were standing in the way of them, you're fucked. But if you're off to the left a little bit or to the right a little bit, you're good to go. That kind of like, and not necessarily, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and especially if you're fighting back
he'll
to you or
either way, and he'll kill
anything.
You. But take away the whole idea of them being like the whole his madness is coming from them being related and him trying to kill off his family or whatever, because that's ultimately what they were doing. Like they went as far as Halloween Resurrection to like be like, he really wanted his family dead.
Yeah.
And so get rid of that, and that's what they did with 2018 and with, obviously with Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
He was never after Laurie, and like not purposefully. When she showed up,
she just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Wrong time, exactly.
Also didn't help that the doctor like literally brought him to her house.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
It's like, here it is.
I was talking with a buddy of mine about that too, and he was like, well, why was he after her? Like, why did he wait just to go back after her? And I was like, he wasn't, man. I was like, and the whole idea, like, so he got the mask back because he went to the gravesite of his sister.
Yes.
You know, like he does. And it just so happened that those journalists that had his mask were there, and he recognized
podcasters.
And he followed them. Yeah, exactly, man. Just leave him alone, man. Get out of the
Michael, here's
cemetery.
your mask.
What are you doing in the cemetery?
I need you to say something. Here.
Got your mask,
here's your mask.
Got your. Oh, you don't want it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're trying to provoke him too. It's like, we want you to kill someone.
Like, don't poke the bear. Like, he's in solitude. He's not bothering anybody. You have to show up there, and then you just like motivate everything else, and then.
And you're real tough when he's fucking handcuffed, you know.
And then you definitely pay for it at the gas station. I'll tell you that much.
Walks up perfectly to that yellow line, like, I'm not scared of shit. And he like looks back at the doctor, and he's like, it's okay.
It's
okay. Keep poking the shark.
Yeah,
it's gonna be all right.
You'll learn.
I enjoyed 2018 a lot. That's one that I've over the years. I probably watched that one close to the same amount of times as the 78 one.
One scene from that one that sticks out though is that when he's in the car in the back seat and he fucking crushes the guy with the seat.
Oh yeah.
That's intense, man. That is intense.
One thing that bothered me the most though is in 2018, Michael has never killed a kid. I mean, obviously he was going to like after Jamie, right? And she was a kid, but never really succeeded. I don't believe, right? I don't think he ever killed Jamie.
No.
Unless my memory's like proving me wrong.
He does in Halloween 6.
Yeah, she's grown up though. But yeah, as a kid, she never died. But in 2018, you're like, you know what, Michael?
He's gonna kill a little child.
Go kill a kid. Halloween Kills. Okay, chop off that kid's head. There you go.
Well, so what I have to say about that, I'm curious. Like when you kind of look at Michael Myers like he's like a Batman sort of character, like Batman doesn't kill people. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
So Michael didn't kill kids in the first one. You know what I mean? Like maybe he would have if he were able to get a hold of Tommy and Lindsay. Yeah, like if he had gotten close.
Maybe. I guess if you put it that way.
He totally like he got plenty close, to Tommy when like Pumpkin smashed and he. Michael stopped him and he looked up and like
following him in the car too, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it was safe to say that Michael didn't kill kids because he surely like had a few opportunities in that movie and didn't,
So maybe he at one point in the beginning he did have some like moral like
maybe
but then like further in the movies his.
So I think that I think you're right, like he had some kind of like moral sort of like compass a little bit, and just like, well, that's that's a
and
kid.
It just went out the window as the movies went on.
Yeah, he was probably thinking like to himself, like, I was a kid and when this happened and like they're a kid, so I shouldn't hurt him or something like that. That's what I can probably say.
Maybe he had a little. He showed a little compassion or something, but so
one day you're gonna be me.
Yeah, but this same Michael Myers, fast forward to 2018. So spoilers if you haven't seen Halloween Kills, but this is also definitely in the trailer and definitely everybody knows. But there's flashback, and they even said before 2018 that basically like what happened to Michael was he was apprehended. And that he spent another 40 years in the same hospital he escaped from, and that's not spoiling necessarily. That's exactly what happened in this story.
Yeah.
So this same Michael Myers that maybe morally, was against killing children, but that same Michael Myers, was taken down and was thrown right back in the hospital where he had another 40 years to think about some shit. And he was already plenty. Yeah, he was plenty upset about things when he got out the first time. You know what I mean? But like now,
another 40 years.
So, yeah, and so okay, so the same things happened sort of like in 2018. He has the mask. You know what I mean? Like he took out the journalists in the gas station during the daylight. You know what I mean? He's got his mask. Hadn't filled Halloween night. Trick or treaters are out. Those kids come running up, and boom, like he stops the kid from, like stops him in his tracks a little bit, and they're like, "Oh shit, sorry."
Yeah.
And then he proceeds to walk off, like doesn't mess with that kid, And then he goes on his little tangent, picks up the hammer, goes into the L rods, takes care of them, walks past that crib with that little baby in it. If you remember.
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
You know
I
what I mean?
forgot about
And
that.
totally like looks down at him, and then looks back up and keeps on going.
Oh,
like,
dude, I have to
you know what I
say,
mean?
watching that, especially now being a father, and like if I go back and watching that, I'm probably gonna have a heart attack even more. But I was so worried that he was gonna
Just
literally
fucking bash a
brutally
baby.
kill that child.
Oh yeah.
Like
Totally.
they were playing with you hard in 2018. Like they really wanted you to feel the terror,
Yeah.
and they did a great
this
job.
Is a guy that, yeah, I mean, like full rage. You know what I mean? Like,
no holding back anymore.
Not rage like there is in Halloween Kills. You know what I mean? But like
that's a whole different level.
You kind of see this guy getting back on a bike for the first time in like 40 years almost. You know what I mean? And like just trying to figure it out. But I think, one of the things before, if you guys remember, and I know you guys remember, before the trailer came out, there were these little like descriptions of like scenes that were shown at certain, like film festivals or whatever. And one of the scenes was the bathroom stall scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where and this was all just describing what was going on. Like I hadn't actually seen the shot yet. I was just reading sort of the description from somebody that got to see it. And when they described Michael's hand reaching over and dropping bloody teeth, I was just like, hold up. What the hell is happening right now? Because that's definitely not like that's a little too over the top. That's like, hey,
yeah, Michael is more of a stab and poke.
Like, yeah, that's
like
not like
killer.
hiding in the that's not hiding in the closet and waiting for you to just sort of open the door on him, Michael Myers, like the first one. He literally like reached over and dropped her colleague's bloody teeth in front of her. Like, you're so fucked right now, you don't even realize it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm done playing. I want to do what I need to do.
I've had to deal with I remember everything you guys said in that fucking hospital.
Yeah.
I've come to collect, suckers. And he does too, man. Like, it's insane. But, the pacing of the I just want to go ahead and say it. Like, the pacing of the newest one was a bit offbeat compared to
if you want right now, we can dive into Halloween Kills. We've been going long enough on all the other ones because I really want to dive a little bit more into this because Aaron and I were very
that was like our biggest gripe with it,
conflicted about how this goes. So I just want to give a warning right now that we are talking about Halloween Kills. We're probably going to be talking about some spoilers. Because there's a lot of things that I want to hear from a third party, like LKDrums, to see if he feels the same way that we do. But the pacing was so off, and like, I know there was 3 writers on this one. I don't know if there was 3 writers in 2018 one, but I know David Gordon Green had who's the other writer he's been writing a lot of stuff with. What's that?
Danny McBride.
Danny McBride, yeah. So they, because I was I don't know if you watch Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder or anything, or if you have Shudder, but he kind of had like a sit down with them during one, I think 2 weeks ago on his last drive-in, and he had Jason Blum and David Gordon Green on there, and David Gordon Green was saying, yeah, I'm working with Danny McBride. We've been writing a lot of stuff together, not just on Halloween, but I guess they've been partnered a lot, and Danny is more like the comedian type, and I think a lot of like the comic and funny elements of this one are from him, and all the brutal stuff is from David, and maybe the other writer.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Go ahead. You can talk about pacing.
Well, so as far as the writing goes, I mean, like the first, real, kind of slasher, from David Gordon Green was Halloween, and before then was like Pineapple Express and like that kind of style.
Yeah, a lot of stuff like that.
And and I know that Danny McBride definitely has a lot of he's a big fan of the original and Michael in general, and I know that they both they were both heavily involved, back and forth in writing the first one, but it was written. The whole story was pretty much written when they were writing essentially the first one. Like they went to like they kind of approached it a few different ways. They were either going to kind of kill off, Laurie and Michael in that one film.
Yeah.
But they got to go ahead to kind of keep it going, so they left it open ended. It did decent financially, so they went ahead and they continued with the story. But the story was pretty much already sort of written. I think a lot of the comedy in in 2018, there was a lot done similarly, like the police officers talking about the sandwiches and shit down the road from Laurie's house in 2018, and like the kid talking about, he's up clipping his toenails and like all, this, so there's very loose, kind of, there's humor up in that, in that too. But I think that, I don't know, it kind of seemed a little over the top with Halloween Kills.
Yeah, I agree.
But it sort of felt like, almost, not that like maybe Danny McBride had more control in the, the funnier moments,
Yeah.
It just kind of seemed like, the same writing as before, but they were just
amplifying a lot of things.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
One thing I'm now that I'm like thinking about it a little bit more, just because of how ridiculously brutal this movie is with the kills and everything, I wonder if the reason why they were adding more comedy was to kind of offset
all
of the killings and the craziness that happens. But then it kind of runs into some of the other like story beats that they have in here of dude, it's just the thing that bothers me. I enjoyed this movie so much. I love the flashback scenes. I love all the nods to the older movies, especially Halloween 3 with the masks and everything, and I love seeing the old characters come back. But this is a big spoiler. Like at the end, just when Michael is literally killing everybody and Tommy building up the whole movie to have his one-on-one encounter with Michael, it's all slow-mo montage stuff.
And he just gets one fucking stab.
Yeah, he has his bat, and we don't even see Tommy actually die on screen. Like he takes his bat, and I wanted to see his head get smashed in with that bat. And like that's what was really bothering me, because it happens for like the last, I think, like 5 minutes or so. It's all Michael slow mo with one light in the back, just brutally killing everybody, and I feel like it just ruined everything they were setting up for the whole movie. But that's just my opinion. And what did you think about how they were approaching the ending of that?
Well, okay, so even before the ending, like the whole pacing in general, was just kind of strange. Okay, so there were things that could have not been in the movie, and it would have made the movie that much better.
I agree. I agree.
Okay, so the umbrella guy from 2018 that also escaped along with Michael.
Yeah, we didn't need him.
The town chasing him through the hospital, and then like that whole, that whole thing, and like that whole idea of just like turning the town into like,
Savages.
rabid animals after, like just after this guy, like no reasoning or any of this, just like straight, just we need blood
like
in this
vision,
hospital.
They weren't hearing anything.
Yeah, everybody's yelling it's not him, and clearly, I mean, for the people who do know Michael, like he's not short and he's not fat, and he's not also the dude's not wearing a mask, so I was like, could have just like realized that, but I know a lot of people weren't completely aware who Michael was until Tommy was like doing a whole speech at the bar and everything.
Yeah, that's the thing too, man. Like, so I didn't like the whole, like turning the town, into animals and them just sort of like tearing the place apart for that, but the whole like Tommy, like from the get-go, just like pumping everybody up about this, like, like as soon as they find out he's out, he's just like, evil dies tonight. And he just like is screaming
really
this shit.
Driving that home.
Yeah, breaking things, and he's like, I need people that are gonna kick ass, and everybody else can go home.
Like, yeah, if you can.
That was his whole.
Not afraid to get dirty. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like the whole time, he's just like this tough guy. Like, hell yeah. Like
another thing
the whole
too.
Time,
like making Lonnie a bigger character, I don't think needed to be a thing.
It really didn't, man. And like, all right, so there was the only nod to Lonnie in the original was he was the kid that. Well, so
when he was like bullying Tommy.
Well, in the original, in '78, he's one of the kids that's like Boogeyman's gonna get you and shit. And then like he's dared to go up to the Myers house, like he's dared to go up to the go inside or some shit. Yeah. And he gets close and Loomis is like, Lonnie, get your ass away from there. And like
that's a great
aside
scene
from
too.
that,
I love
like
that.
there's no more Lonnie in the movie, like aside
it's
from
like
that.
We have to make Lonnie have an encounter with Michael so we can add another character on top of the 20 characters we already have so that we can have some more character development on this character that we don't even need.
And that's where
and then have him get killed off screen.
Yes. But that's basically like what Rob Zombie was doing. Like
essentially.
He was trying so hard to like spin these details from the first one off into their own sort of universe, essentially, create this whole backstory about this very, like minute idea, from the first movie. And I love 2018 a lot. And I'm sure after watching, Halloween Kills a few more times, like I'll appreciate, everything that happened a lot more, but like, man, just the pacing of it in general was just
the pacing was a lot better in 2018 with the build up and everything. I mean, there was a lot of like weird story beats that they added in there, but I feel like overall it's a much more enjoyable film. I put 78 and then I put 2018 and then like everything else after. I don't know where I'm gonna put Halloween Kills. As of right now, it's kind of towards the back end. Like I can enjoy a lot of the really crappy Halloween movies
but like
more than Halloween Kills. I like Halloween Kills for the kills. It's in the title. Yeah. That's where I enjoy it. But for like story reasons and for character development and to move everything on to just to fulfill a trilogy to push to the last movie, I don't know. A lot of it falls flat. Everybody. They showed a lot of Laurie in the trailers and really hyping her up
see her in the movie.
To do something, and she's just in the hospital the whole time. That sucks. You want to see Laurie do something, not like sit there like a wimp. Like I was telling Aaron,
she still does have that like fighting attitude in her. Though, she wants to leave the hospital and be like, I want to fuck this guy up.
Yeah, I was telling Aaron like when she like broke her stitches, I wanted to see her grab a staple gun and just start stapling herself and then run out and be like, I'm getting this bastard. Like I wanted to see that like type of Laurie, to be on the same level as Michael, because at the end we all know that they're gonna essentially reach the same amount of quote unquote power, take on each other. We don't know how it's gonna end. I think they're gonna end with Allison surviving and Laurie and Michael dying together, because Aaron was also saying like we don't think Michael's gonna die until Laurie dies, because I think they have this connection that.
Well, the whole idea is like so Shakespearean now, you know what I mean? That like one only exists because of the other, that it would seem so strange if like Laurie died off like early on, before Michael or anything, or like. That's and Halloween Resurrection. That's what sucked ass about Halloween Resurrection is like 11 minutes into the movie and Jamie Lee Curtis is dead. Like
then he's just killing just to kill. He doesn't
have a motive anymore.
Exactly.
It's just you're in my house, get out.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing though that I want to say that Halloween Kills does do really well is it makes Halloween 2018 such a better film because all the plot holes and things like that. Not that there were many, but like all the little details that weren't really filled in 2018 were totally answered in Halloween Kills, because I mean it's the same night. So everything that goes on,
night, man.
Right?
everything that goes on, man. Frank Hawkins, man, like the cop when he's daggered in the neck by the doctor, with that little dagger pen.
Yeah.
And he's left there to dead. Like that's the last you see of him, and it's like, only like 20 or 30 minutes later is
Literally.
Laurie Strode's house on fire, and Michael's, like inside of it. Like it wasn't that much. It wasn't too long after that that all that happened.
Which goes back to the pacing,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when 2018 picks up, that 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, you're kind of seeing where all these other characters that were sort of like almost forgotten about in 2018.
Where they were up to.
What are they doing?
This whole shit was going down. Yeah.
Like the douchebag boyfriend from the first one, like Hawkins, and he's like, "Hey, man," like runs over to help him and shit. Like it was cool because there were certain things that happened, like Hawkins getting daggered in the neck. Like once that happened, I was like, "Are you kidding me, man? Like you're just gonna kill off a character like that? Like
yeah,
he could have been such an awesome character in this story, because like he was the cowboy, man. He's like, he
was doing a lot of shit. He was doing work.
Man, he saw him and he was like, "Hang on, everybody, we're about to hit him with my police issued Bronco or whatever that was."
Yeah, I know.
So I Halloween Kills to me had its pacing problems, but I think Halloween 2018 certainly had pacing problems that were sort of rectified in Halloween Kills.
It's kind of like they bounced each other out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
well,
say that.
and the sheriff even, in 2018 he's all walking in all Clint Eastwood and shit, and he's like, he's like, Michael Myers is out there, but hey, this is Haddonfield, like he makes a joke of it and shit. And then in this one, he's lost his,
he's worthless.
He lost total control of everything, and he's just like, shit.
Yeah, once the town starts going crazy, he literally throws off his hat and he's like, "Yeah, I'm done. I can't do anything about this." He literally just sits on the steps, like all sad and everything, because he can't control it because it's just too out of hand. And
you can only do so much as one person too, though. Unfortunately. But yeah, imagine just being the sheriff of a fucking town and people aren't even fucking listening to what you're saying, and
exactly
just going to kill some dude.
Just join
and just having no control
Can't
over
beat
it.
him, join him.
Well, so we all know that Halloween Ends is the next one.
Yes.
The one that's coming out allegedly next year.
Yes.
A year
let's hope they're staying on schedule and nothing interrupts it, because I want this.
We should have already seen Halloween Ends. If you think about it,
would have been
that should have happened a few nights ago.
Yeah.
Halloween Kills should have
COVID.
happened last. Yeah, man, COVID's screwing everything. But so I think that one of the biggest issues that we all have about Halloween Kills is the end, like the very ending of it, and just kind of how like it didn't like it just sort of like this big build to almost kind of like a letdown, and like these weird sort of shots, and like you don't really see what happens to Tommy, and you don't really see what happens to all this. Well, I think in the same way that Halloween Kills kind of picks up exactly where the one from before left off from, like kind of different perspective.
Yeah,
I think you'll see the aftermath of Halloween Kills in Halloween Ends, and I think we'll see. I don't think we'll see the last of Tommy. I don't think so.
Yeah, because we technically didn't really see him get killed. We saw him kind of get knocked down and hit with a bat.
So maybe they left that open-ended intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Halloween Ends might pick up, and it's.
Oh man, I'm hoping so. You're getting me hyped to see Tommy again and see him get his redemption arc.
I think they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like
they probably already have it written.
Oh, they do.
Definitely. That's the deal too. Like they hit John Carpenter up about this.
Yeah, he's been part of the
with
whole
a full-fledged story. And it just so happens that they chopped it up into 3 movies now. But I think they were only going for 2 movies back then when they were initially pitching him the idea. And they got John Carpenter's blessing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they know what they're doing in respect to the character and things. And I think it's interesting, that kind of how they touched on like the supernatural element of him.
Yeah,
and
towards the end of the movie,
like
like,
that. Yeah.
the more he kills, the stronger he gets. The more fear there is, the stronger he is, and you can't take him down.
Yeah.
And when you can't see him, he's there. So that's another thing. One, I was talking to Aaron, was like, since they're bringing in sort of the supernatural thing, because Karen's looking out the window, right? And obviously they're down the street where they brought Michael, so they can't see any of the killings happening. And as soon as she says that, Michael appears behind Karen and kills her. And I was saying to Aaron, how did he get around all the ambulances and everybody else in front of the house when he has to go through that alley? Is he teleporting now? Is he getting Jason like abilities or?
Well, do you remember in the flashback scene where Hawkins is chasing him down the alleyway and he sees that bloody boot print that leads like right to that gate that's like locked up and shit.
Yeah.
So they kind of nudged the whole idea that like, hey, he's doing some crazy shit. We don't know like what he's doing or like what's going on exactly, but like something's going on. Like he's got like there's something else to him. You know what I mean? Like it's not just this guy. You know what I mean? Like there's just something to him. And I think I thought the exact same thing. I was like, how the hell did he get behind? Like, no way he's gonna already like we're already killing off this character. Like in this way, like you totally just you rushed all of that. You know what I mean? And that whole him just showing up behind her thing.
It's like
I was like,
he's literally the shape. He's
sort of
shadow
through a fence that was locked up or something. Like he's the force of nature, man. Like tangible, but like I don't know, man.
And it also kind of begs the question too, is like when Lindsay's running away, right? And he's doing his classic walk, I'm gonna get you. If they are gonna tap into the supernatural element and say that yes, he can teleport in the shadows or wherever he can do. Why didn't he go in front of her, which I thought he was going to do?
In classic Michael
like
fashion.
I thought that she was gonna look behind and he wasn't there, and then she was gonna turn around and he was gonna be right there.
Yeah.
Like that to me, I would have liked that more than him just playing with her. And like he knows that she was there. I feel like he knows that she was there and he just let her go to play with her. That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to like. I mean, you could think of it that way.
Yeah.
Or he could just honestly not know. You know what I mean? Like,
which goes back to giving him that human aspect. Like
either way, yeah. Well, either way, like whether he knew and was just playing with her, or he didn't know and was just like, "Damn, where'd she go?"
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't add up in sort of continuity to the rest of the movie. Like
exactly, like, and that's how I feel
too.
Like
no one can hide from him in the rest of that. In the rest of the movie. You know what I mean? Like that dude's just showing up and like scaring the shit out of everybody. Yeah,
unless it really does go back to what Lori was saying. Like the more he kills, the more he gets this power. So maybe he just didn't kill enough to have this like awareness. Maybe he has to reach a certain threshold of bloodshed and like anger for him to do this. And maybe that's another reason why he went into the old couple's house. But I think the reason why he was there is because he was bandaging his hand, but we didn't see, which is another sign of weakness we were talking about. And Michael doesn't really show weakness. So maybe the reason why he was there bandaging, he killed them to kind of get some of the strength back, so that way when he was getting shot later on, he doesn't feel anything. Maybe he has to do this to get to that certain point.
And the backward too, with like he thrives off of like fear and stuff like that. Maybe he couldn't find her, maybe because she's so confident about like obviously she's petrified, but like at the same time she's out there before. Yeah, she's been through it. She's out there in the front lines trying to get him. So like maybe it's just that lack of fear, like genuine fear, I guess. You know what I mean?
I have to rewatch this again now, thinking about all this stuff and like really like go by like what we're saying right now about him building up to this threshold. I think
here's the thing too. Like and I was thinking about this too when I was watching it. So he's bandaging himself up and things like that, and like shortly after he just escaped Lori's house, you know what I mean? Like, killed off the firefighters and the first responders, and shows up at the Oh, dude, that was. Oh man,
we're not equipped for that.
He was so pissed. Oh, and they tried too, man. Like,
the one dude with the hose.
I understand. Like the fire, water is very, very powerful, and it will knock you on your ass.
Oh man,
and that's why he was so terrified. He was like, "This guy's getting knocked down."
Whatever they had on him, man, they're like, "Holy!" But like, he walks out of that burning house, man, and like just does that, and they're all like holding their axes too, like
they're ready. They're like, "We're gonna take this guy down."
Out of fire. Now we've got to kill a maniac. This night just got crazy. But
let's get out of here.
So, yeah,
for real.
But I think man, I forgot where I was gonna go with that. Whatever we were talking about, just go with it.
What were we talking about?
Well, just like the whole him.
So anyway, like him bandaging himself up, like that, and Lori does. She's like, like every time he kills, he gets, stronger or whatever, or like transcends,
Yeah.
I think so. Okay, so I'm going to look at that like it's not actual. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like more like legend than anything, because to her, it's the only way any of that makes
justify
sense.
It.
That she sees it. Yeah.
The only way it's possible is because this guy is obviously like
supernatural,
or more and more supernatural as he kills. And I think almost urban legend style. You know what I mean? Like that's
the boogeyman.
To her,
literally, he's the boogeyman.
That to her is the only possible explanation. But I think that I don't know, like there's just something wrong in his nervous system or something like that maybe, and he's
it's
just
like a disconnect in his brain or something.
No pain, you know what I mean? Like doesn't feel it, like feels maybe
just adrenaline 24/7.
Yeah, like him bandaging himself up, like he realizes like I've got to stop this freaking bleeding, or whatever. I mean, you never see him like take the jumpsuit off and fix his fucking bullet hole wounds.
No, he lays on the ground for a little bit, plays with them. He knows he can kick their ass.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm just gonna rest real quick.
Just gonna, I need a minute. What
would be really crazy? I mean, I don't think they're gonna do this, and obviously it would be kind of stupid for them to do it. But how crazy would it be at the very end? They show Michael with a thorn tattoo. If they like, you know what? Screw it. We're in the Thorn trilogy.
All in. Right
oh yeah, theory about him having a dream.
Oh yeah, that was another thing that we were talking about, like right out of the theater. I was like, this would be crazy. What if all of this, like Michael was having like a fever dream, and he wakes up at the end and it's still Kid Michael, and all this was just a dream. Like he ate like bad food or something.
That's pretty crazy. Like the whole thing,
like as cool as it sounds though, I feel like it would kind of not like almost like
it would go flat, definitely.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
I mean, it would be an interesting twist, yeah. But
and also like the whole other thing is like Michael likes the window. He always looks out the window. Like they drive that narrative so much, and it's like the window is important. Break the fucking window.
Yeah.
Like the reason he goes home is to look through the window. He wants to look at himself.
Destroy the fucking house.
Yeah, in the mirror, he wants to see his face. Is he afraid of himself?
Well, again, I think maybe that's the detail that they're going to pick up on in Halloween Ends.
They have to because this whole movie is about Michael looking out on Haddonfield.
Yeah.
So it's got to be something like that.
Well, and so like a big thing with this film. I feel that the first film was totally Laurie's film. You know what I mean? Like that was Laurie's movie. And, she was certainly like the Dr. Loomis type. And I know that when Dr. Sartain, shows up and shit.
You're that guy.
And he's like, so you're the new Loomis. Like, and she even like, kind of calls that out. Like, you're the new Loomis guy. This whole Dr. Sartain dude. But really, it was her. Like she was the Loomis character. like all along. You know what I mean? Like she was the one, trying to convince the town that, or convince her family and the police that they had to go hunt him down, and they weren't listening to her until people started dying and
like
shit.
the boy who cried wolf, basically.
Yeah,
pretty much, yeah. But so I think Halloween Kills is most certainly a Michael Myers movie.
yes.
I think
I mean,
more the shape than Laurie.
Yeah.
And I know that was a little bit of a letdown because like it seems like you're gonna get a lot more Laurie Strode.
and that's what disappointed me. The trailer's really
you totally think it's gonna be her like leaving the hospital and like going and hunting him down or whatever, like.
Yeah, she had to rip open her stitches.
So maybe we'll get more Laurie next time. Hopefully.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be a lot.
We definitely will, and more Hawkins.
And Allison, I feel like, is gonna play even a way bigger role because now she has even more motive. Both of her parents are dead, unless for some reason what we saw at the end of when Michael killing Karen didn't actually happen. And I don't know. Like that's another thing I was thinking about. It's like what because Laurie, I think, is also like looking in like a glass while she's talking about Michael and transcending and everything, and Karen's being killed with that. What if it's just like a vision of her maybe thinking that's what's happening, and that's why we think Michael's teleporting, or maybe it actually did happen. He did teleport and kill her. Like, I don't know. I'm still really confused as to like where they could be going with that. Is she still alive or is she actually dead? And that's a question that
find out
I'm
next
still
year on Halloween
still asking
ends.
myself. Like, is it a trick, and were they tricking us, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's crazy. There's a lot of questions.
Well, so when honestly, man, like when Halloween when Halloween 2018 ended, you know what I mean? And he's in the basement and it's on fire and everything, and like they drive off and she's holding the knife, and the very last thing you hear after the credits is him breathing and shit, just like you do in 78. I was just like, oh my god, and like I went down a rabbit hole of all these like possible scenarios and situations and things.
Yeah, I was doing that too.
What if Allison becomes like a Myers type, and then like almost kind of Michael Myers ish, and like they
that's
have
what
to,
I was saying.
He was
like,
saying
what at the end of this, like they kind of do like what they were trying to do with Jamie back in the day, but fooled us. Is like, what if she gets possessed by whatever the hell Michael has? Like for some reason, it is like a spiritual thing, and it just like takes over her body, and it's like, okay, now we're gonna kill her.
She puts the mask on, and
yeah.
Well, so that's where my thinking was going. Like, before seeing Halloween Ends or Halloween Kills, obviously, but even before like any of the trailers or any of that, like how he was going to escape from the house, because when you hear him breathing at the end, you're like, oh, he's not dead. Like, how is he gonna get out of this? He's just gonna, I guess, wait for the house to finish burning, and he's just gonna walk out of it or some shit, or
it's gonna stay
like brush his shoulders off and
the weapon room with the door just closed. For some reason, that's not gonna burn down.
Man, I forgot about that room.
Me too. Like until like they showed it in this film, I was like, oh, so there was another room for him to hide in. Because I thought it was all open down there.
Yeah, well, they did have it open, when they were getting the weapons, and I guess, like...
He was like, I'm going to go in here, bye.
I'm just going to hang out in here for a minute. And he wasn't in there for very long. I mean, like, the house had only been...
5 minutes, maybe?
Maybe 5 minutes, yeah.
Because then he started pulling the guys through the floor and shit.
Yeah, because even I think at the end of 2018, we already hear the sirens, don't we?
Yeah.
So, like, it starts off, like, immediately, and...
It picks up exactly, like, right where it leaves off. And so, when it ended, you know what I mean? And you hear him breathing and things like that, like I said, I was thinking, of all these crazy, scenarios that weren't even a thing. Like, when the movie actually picks up, like, none of the crazy shit I thought was going to happen happened, you know what I mean? But I think it's important too, because like you have to understand that like the original is responsible for all of this, you know what I mean? They used the 78 movie as like
the base,
the staple to what to sort of build off of. And the simplicity of that movie too, you know what I mean? And so I think that it's important not to
overdo it,
not to overthink anything, or to like, to have crazy expectations, because like I know that they're just trying to tell like not a simple story, necessarily, but they're just trying to tell like a good finish.
A scary story.
A good way to close it out, you know.
Yeah.
And to kind of fulfill everybody's things. Like, people want the kills. Okay, we got the kills. People want to see Laurie and Michael got it. We got that in 2018.
Exactly.
We want to see another
cover
family.
all their bases. Yeah.
We want to see older faces, so we got that. We want to see the town go crazy. We got that.
You got John Carpenter in with the new ones, you know, with his.
Yeah.
So it's like.
And man, those scores, dude! Like the score for 2018 was great.
Oh, I know.
His son is like
holy hell.
He's going crazy with it. I'm actually gonna. They just have released the soundtrack for it, and I'm gonna be picking it up this week because like I was telling Aaron, the soundtrack is great
in the background. Like I thought about just like having it playing in the background a little bit, like from Spotify.
It's
because
so
it's on Spotify
good.
now, but it's
his son is so much like him. It's ridiculous. It's
yeah.
The way he remixes all the older tracks to make it more modern, but still keep that feeling is great. And I can't wait to hear more of it in Halloween Ends, and to see how crazy things get.
I do definitely want us to talk more about 78, but I want to say, speaking of Cody, and just kind of like that edge that he's bringing to to the scores and like to the original themes and shit. Halloween 6, if you guys remember, like they had the theme, but it was like heavy as hell, like rock guitar, like bending strings and shit, like real like just like real crazy, like
Genty.
rock and roll to it, you know what I mean? And it was, dude, and still to this day, man, Halloween 6 is like one of the scarier ones, you know what I mean? Because like he was just supernatural in a sense, but like just brute, man, just like a big ass dude, and like, I was, and they got Wilbur back in 2000 or in Halloween 6, and he played Michael in 2004 for sure, and maybe
so many different
or maybe
Michael Myers.
Halloween 4 and 5, I believe.
Yeah, but I think it was the same one in 4 and 5. Yes, I think so.
But yeah,
Masks changed obviously,
but I always liked how how they took that original theme and they added that real heavy guitar to it.
Yeah.
And so when I heard when listening to Cody Carpenter, like add his guitaring and things like that to some of these tracks, reminds me a lot of Halloween 6, and I can appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And the 2018 had a pretty good soundtrack too, but this one just like took it up a notch, and I really hope they go really crazy in Halloween Ends with everything. I want maybe not more kills, but I want to see more satisfying ones and more brutal ones and
more meaningful.
Yeah,
like,
and I want to
kills.
I was very not impacted at all with a lot of the returning cast kills and Halloween Kills, and I think that's another thing that really upset me. It was like I didn't feel for them,
Man, same here. Honestly, when the boyfriend dies, when Cameron, Lonnie's son, like I was the most, like I wasn't disappointed because like I was kind of like bummed out because that really kind of seemed like, because the whole character arc of him, like he kind of blew his, like messed up with Allison, in the first movie.
Yeah,
and
really
was
bad.
Just trying to like wanted to make things right with her, and also like was just trying to like keep everybody safe and shit like that. Like you kind of see like a different side of him, like he's kind of
more level-headed and more like I'm gonna fix all this stuff, and
sadly
doesn't really get a chance to because
Michael's
just like
intense, man. That was intense.
When he like makes eye contact with her and he's just like
slamming him,
dude. That was
between
the
bars,
one
dude.
Of that whole movie, I was just like, oh shit.
I was telling Aaron, I'm like, I want to see him rip off his head, but all he did was twist it. That would have been nuts if he just like literally just like ripped out his head. It's like, okay, so he's definitely
he could easily do it too, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he could probably rip off someone's arm and start slapping him with it if he wanted to.
Like that light bulb kill in the was it near the beginning? Where he like just smashes the bulb on the counter and just like butter just sticks it in this lady's neck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like he picked that firefighter up off of the ground with that, like
with
like
the
pickaxe or whatever it was, you know. Just like
it's some weird
held him up.
name.
I was like, oh my god.
It was a wrestling move, wasn't it?
Yeah, he does a lot
that choke
of
slam.
yeah. He does a lot of really crazy shit in this film, and I mean he's done a lot of crazy stuff in previous films, but this one really takes the cake with a lot of them, with just how nuts they went. And they definitely delivered on saying there's a lot of kills in this movie, because that was one of the things that they were talking about. I was like, there's a lot of kills. So if you guys are looking for kills, this one has it.
I think I remember hearing somebody last night when we were watching it actually say like all those kills were unnecessary. Like, or
definitely
not all those kills, but like some of them were totally unnecessary. And I was just like, well, this is a guy that like, first off, you know, he was just trying to head to his house. You know what I mean? Like it just so happened that he got thrown into Lori's, you know, point of view, and you know, and they had their whole thing. You know, it just so happens that all of that happened. And they trapped him in a house and like set him on fire and shit. You know what I mean?
I'd be
so
pissed.
like he's pissed. Yeah. So like he's like above and beyond intense with his killing. You know what I mean? Like when he is in the that same house. And
the knives.
Anybody listening, yeah. Sorry for the spoilers if you haven't seen this.
Yeah.
You're missing out.
Yeah. Watch it right now on Peacock.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, seriously, you could probably even watch it for nothing if you dove deep enough. But I didn't say that. You didn't hear that.
Yeah.
But so he like knifes her or like gets her with that fluorescent light bulb, and then is just like taking every knife and putting them into that guy. I was just like, when is this going to end? And
I thought that he was using that to see what was the sharpest knife.
Something. Yeah. It was just like, oh yeah, okay, this is the one.
Nah, I'm good with this one.
Everyone, he was just like, not it. Stab.
This isn't the one.
It's very.
This is just right.
Comedic. It's very comedic. A lot of the kills and stuff in here are very comedic, especially the way he's like moving when he grabs the knife too. He's like,
yeah.
And a lot of it when you have those like funny moments too is like when he's fucking with people, like when he's torturing them, like, you know, just impaling this lady's dead husband right in front of her while she's bleeding to death out of her throat, you know.
Yeah, and just leaves you to die. Doesn't
almost
even finish
like,
her off.
And the fact he drags him into the room too, puts him over the counter, and is just like, while fucking watching this lady.
So I mean, you're kind of reminded that, I mean, like at the core of all of this, you're dealing with a very mentally unstable person.
Oh yeah.
You know, so much to the point where like everybody thinks he's like supernatural. You know what I mean? And like, you know, Laurie especially is convinced that, you know, this guy is just only becoming more and more magical and shit, you know, as he kills, you know.
He's a witch.
Literally.
Seriously, man, like walk on water kind
of.
Man
in Black is behind it all.
I was and I'm sure you guys were too, but I was surprised by how long he was without his mask in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Me too. There was actually 2 instances where you could have seen his face, but they blurred it. One was when they were talking about the people who escaped on the TV in the bar. His face is there, so like they didn't have the name, but Michael was on the screen. And at the end, they had him just enough out of view for you not to see his face like completely. I mean, you know, everybody knows who the actor looks like, but to actually see Michael unmasked
in the movie,
is such a different thing, because that never really happened that much in the other films besides 78, and I think it was it Halloween
5 was the
it
next
5
one.
Was it 4? Yeah, it was 5 with Jamie when she takes off his mask, but even then you don't see it because it's in the shadow. This one, there's lights on him, and it's still like you can't see his face that much. You see the back of his head, but not the front of his head that much. But yeah, it was for a good while. It was like, what, 2 or 3 minutes at least with him.
Oh yeah.
Like just walking. And then when he picks up the mask, everybody knows that you're fucked. Like, they were really trying to get you hyped with that. And everybody's like, they with their bats. They're like, yeah, let's go against this guy who could kill you with a tire. You know, it was beat you up with a bat, and then that'll be good enough.
I thought, all right, so like I mean, like him being without his mask for that long, like I thought that was kind of crazy, like
Yeah.
them just kind of playing, like keep away from him, but like whenever like the whole like town pretty much shows up on him and shit, and he's just standing there and like just watching them all just build up, and he just grabs that mask and puts it on like we're doing this shit.
It's like, let's go, man.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, man.
You know what that gets me kind of thinking about too? It's like, what if Michael's quote unquote like powers are linked to the mask? Because
it could be.
He's got basically the same mask throughout the. It's slightly like because you notice how the movies it starts off like almost brand new and then ends up like this. Probably from years.
Shows the age.
Yeah, so it's like, what if this mask is, what's the
That's
source
definitely, I think, part of it. I think that's kind of always been part of that. And plus it makes him feel, I think, more secure.
Yeah.
It's like anybody, you put on a mask and you feel different. Like you feel like you can do anything. No one knows your face or anything, so he's able to do all these things. So I think it definitely is linked to that.
Maybe he's not happy with who he is. It's a confidence issue.
Well, I think that it honestly is kind of like a confidence thing, or like a
he was
like
always put down as a kid,
and obviously he had a mask on when he killed his sister. So I think it really is kind of linked to the whole. I'm gonna hide myself so I can do these things I'm thinking about.
Well, so he wasn't wearing a mask when he messed up that guy's jaw in that gas station.
Oh, true. Like, that was only one dude.
He did all those crazy kills without the mask. You know what I mean? And like, I think that I don't know. It's almost like maybe maybe sort of like a I don't know, like a confidence kind of thing, or like a just sort of almost kind of armor-ish.
Yeah, and let you know that this is me. You see this mask, it's me, and you're dead. More it's a symbol and everything. Just to
well, and he's one thing that Dr. Sartain does make pretty clearly in 2018 is that Michael's aware of everything. Yeah, like you didn't even hit the parking lot before he knew, like that kind of thing. So he's well aware of not only everything around him, but like what he is also. And I think that he's aware of the impact that he's made. I think, you know what I mean? Like if we're dealing with somebody that is thinking about shit as he's doing shit, then that's
he probably thrives off of it. Then and that's why he continues to do it.
Maybe you know what I mean? Because like he straight up
some sort of way.
He was like, he was in the middle of the street without his mask, and the city showed up on him, and like his first thought was like, I'm gonna pick this on, or pick this up and put it on. It's like almost like a like his jersey or some shit.
Yeah, it's just like, this is me. I need this so I can do what I need to do. And let you guys know that I'm the one that's doing it, and I want you to be afraid. It's fear.
Exactly.
Like Lori was saying, it's the whole fear
factor
angle. Yeah.
Well, and without it, he's just a guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all looking.
An old dude at that. Like he's old as hell, and he's still doing all this stuff.
That's wild to me.
He's like, at this point, 50s or 60s? Because how old is Lori right now? It's 40 years later.
Yeah, he was 62, I believe.
62, and he's doing all this.
2018.
Motherfucker just must be lifting weights in between holidays. Just
yeah.
Dude, seriously,
he's
man.
Definitely getting his work cut out, and he's definitely getting his exercise in.
He was out there standing still in the courtyard of that mental hospital only because it wasn't bench press day. Or else he would have been out there like shredding with all the other inmates and shit.
God, I'd be afraid to be in there with him.
But maybe they also didn't know who he was.
Yeah, that's another thing.
They all seem to be pretty aware of who he is too. When they pull the mask out, like he's not reacting at all.
No,
he's just standing there, dude, like clenched fists, and they're all losing their shit. Like all the inmates are all like jumping around.
Oh yeah.
But but to go back, man, to 28 or to Halloween 78, you don't really, that he's in a mental hospital. Like you know that like he's just some crazy guy, I guess, that escapes, from some hospital.
Yeah.
but you don't really know much else. Like all you know is he like, escaped and let all the other patients out, but they don't ever say like, kind of, what actually happened. Like was anybody killed in the hospital or,
Yeah, it was just
like
it
they don't
was
really.
raining out and everybody managed to get out.
Well, and I think that, made, his presence in that movie a lot creepier because like you don't really know what's going like you don't know what you're up against, and you
Nope.
don't know who this person is or what his infatuation is with these characters or I think like by explaining sort of like why he's doing what he's doing and like kind of like showing his like day-to-day routine in the mental hospital and things like that, like to almost kind of sort of humanizing or to like humanizing just to like make him almost kind of like legend,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's
I feel that. Yeah.
I mean it's a cool way to tell the story, but it's kind of like you're kind of adding way more
Than
than
you
you
need.
really have to,
Yeah.
but I mean again, I mean like those that simplicity and those not having to over explain everything,
Yeah.
like even like no one other than Dr. Loomis and a handful of police officers, because like they're like, we gotta hit the radio and call some backup in, and he's like, no, we don't need anybody knowing that this is going on. He's like, just keep your head down and like
Yeah, I know how to
watch
handle this. Let me
yeah
just get me to where I can be with him, and I can take care of it from there.
yeah. I mean, like treating it just like you would if like a jaguar escaped. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and you're just like a guy with a
Cause
tranquilizer gun.
like big panic everywhere. Yeah, you don't want
it's
that.
gonna be pandemonium if everybody knows there's a.
Everybody knew. Yeah, it'd be crazy. And like he said, like if you tell them, everybody's gonna see him everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He'll be on every street corner. And everybody will call in thinking they've seen him. You know what I mean? And
because they're paranoid at that point,
Yeah.
or they're actually seeing him.
And I guess that kind of even links to with the whole fear thing that they're saying now. Like maybe if they did that and he knew that he would be stronger, so maybe they are connecting things a lot better than I thought they were doing with the original ones. Like if you did tell everybody, they're gonna see him, get really scared, and then Michael's gonna feed off that, and that's what he's obviously doing in kills. So I guess yeah.
And he turns everybody against each other, essentially, in a way. They turn him into these, like, savage animals.
Yeah.
Exactly, man. You think Loomis, maybe, when he said that, like, don't radio this in and don't put it on TV because everybody's going to see him everywhere. You think maybe he was trying to prevent exactly what Tommy Doyle ended up escalating?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about now. Like, really, really thinking about that. That makes a lot of sense.
Or
because they
Loomis
thought,
is behind it the whole time.
Oh, I don't. If Loomis was behind it, I'd be heartbroken. I don't think
There's
so.
No way, man.
No, Sartain, that guy, he was behind everything that's been going on now. Like, he's the reason why Michael's loose.
Yeah.
Well, Loomis tried. All right, and heavy spoiler, you guys. Like, if you haven't seen the film yet, very sorry. But Loomis even tries to blow his head off.
Oh yeah, true.
Like they follow him back to the house in the flashback. And Loomis was going to kill him, and it was Hawkins that stopped.
Yeah, he's like, nope, because I was thinking about the kid, like the kid inside him and everything, and I understand that.
Totally.
And he was also having a lot of guilt because he killed his partner. Once again, spoilers. So like, there was a lot going on in his head. Yep. So in a way, like Hawkins is kind of right that he's the reason why all this is happening, but I don't think he's right in the way of thinking that Michael's coming for him. I don't think Michael really cares about him necessarily. I just think that he just wants to be home, man, and everybody's
just wants to look out his window.
They're fucking up his plans for just wanting to stay in his house. Like, you had to kill Big John, Little John, because he wanted his fucking house back, and they're invading his space, and everybody else is.
Little John thing, man. That was one of those things where I was like, we didn't have to have.
No, we didn't have to have.
It was
but
appreciated,
it was
though. It was funny.
It was really funny, man. Like
Little John.
That Marco Polo and shit with like Big John.
He pulls up the little fucking paring knife. I got this knife.
I I meant to tell my wife last night, like we watched it and like Big John Little John showed up and I was like, that's Stewart, man, from Mad
Mad
TV.
TV.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
Look what I can do. That's
Yep.
straight up him, dude. He's
in a
Little
lot
John.
of things now. I'm kind of sad that we didn't see his kill on screen though. We saw the aftermath, but not him actually get killed. I wonder if he had something in his contract, like you can't show me getting brutally murdered.
Look what I can do.
Yeah. But yeah, man. I think definitely, like Tommy kind of ramping everybody up, getting the whole town, behind him to where like when that other patient, you know what I mean? Which again, they could have just left that out of the movie completely and just made it.
I think they were doing it more for a social commentary thing with everybody going after him and like always not listening and shit.
Reminded me, okay, so two things. It reminded me of Halloween 2 when it is out on the radio and it is on TV.
Yeah, and the boy.
They start seeing him everywhere, and Ben Tramer is killed. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Ben Tramer is the guy that was supposed to be, going out with Lori, taking her to the dance or whatever the hell, And
quick spoilers too. I think in the next film, David teased that Ben is actually still alive.
Well, so that I was a little disappointed that that like the whole Ben Tramer character still hasn't shown up.
Yeah, he teased that he might be in the next one. So
yeah, they brought him up in this last one, but I imagine he'll be in the next one, probably. But
I hope so.
Because he wasn't killed off. Like that was only Halloween.
Not really a big character either, but like he was big enough to make it, something that everybody remembers.
Well, he was Laurie's crush.
Yeah.
Like so that like she has like, an interest, like a bit of a love interest or whatever, and like this guy never is brought up, which there's still there hasn't been any confirmation either way that like that's Karen's father, or that any of this, because you just kind of you can assume that like once everything happened that like her and Ben got together and that's the ex-husband or but I mean again just kind of one of those like kind of missing pieces, like not an important one, and I mean
not really,
not that it would do anything to the story either way, but
just
it would
just
be
to
cool
have nods and everything and to bring back the legacy characters.
They brought everybody else back. Like,
so it's might as well.
But I think they did a really good job with the flashback, and
I agree,
showing the Myers house and all that. I think that like the Loomis character, I mean, he almost kind of looked like almost kind of computer generated a little bit.
Oh, he definitely was. And the other thing too, like I was watching it last night and really listening to Loomis's voice actor, because it was a guy who was doing his voice. It's just there's some parts of it that kind of sounds like Arnold. Like go back and listen to it and you're gonna think of Arnold Schwarzenegger or some of the stuff he says. Did he kill again? And stuff like that. It sounds so much like Arnold. I'm like, I appreciate what you guys are doing and you're really trying to really bring Loomis back for the scene. But just the voice sometimes doesn't hit home that great. But they did a great job for what they had,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I definitely I have there's a few things that I wish they would have done differently, but I'm kind of basing everything off of only seeing it the one time. Like I'll watch it again tonight, and
yes, I'm definitely doing the same.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll watch it at least once a day for the next week or two, or
the next
whatever.
year.
Yeah, just go ahead and absorb it. Just like we did 2018. Because now we've got Halloween Ends. And like that's happening. Like everything is already well set. And like I said earlier, like the ends of Halloween Kills felt like a letdown in a sense.
Yeah.
But I think things can be vindicated, the same way that a lot of bits were vindicated from 2018 with Halloween Kills.
I agree. I agree with that a lot, especially if they already have everything written and whatnot. I think I know what they want to do, and they know what they want to do. It's just how everybody else is going to perceive it. There was one thing I was reading earlier while I was at work, is I guess Jamie Lee Curtis was having a quick interview with somebody, and she was saying that she knows how Halloween ends, and she was saying that a lot of people are going to be angry because there's a lot of questions, and she's saying that she's also, this is what was tipping me over a little bit. She was saying that after this ends, David Gordon Green isn't doing any more, but they were all like, David was also saying in an interview with Joe Bob, was saying that if someone else wants to take up the story and like spin it their own way, go right ahead. And Jamie Lee Curtis said, I am not against appearing in any more Halloween films after Halloween ends.
It kind of made her career, so I wouldn't.
So I don't know if that's confirming that she doesn't die, or if she's just confirming that if someone wants like to do a different storyline, she's down for it.
I don't know, man. That kind of seems to me that she's sort of giving away the fact that there
Laurie
could be more Laurie a little later
or
on.
maybe like more backstory with her throughout the years, like going like way back. But that'd be really weird because I mean Jamie's old now, so it'd be kind of hard to do something like that. But yeah, I don't know how to take that, because I was reading, I was like, wait, what?
I think that if you, like thinking in like as far as like the whole story sort of being both about Michael Myers and Laurie Strode.
Yeah.
I think that it would be just as disappointing if there were no end and she just kind of kept going and they just sort of kept the story going, even with different characters or different directors. I mean,
yeah,
I think that would be just as disappointing as it would if she were to just die off.
I agree.
So I think we're just kind of in a situation now where, like, I think, like, at the root of it, we're going to be a little let down no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Because they've gone this, they went this route with this story, you know what I mean? And I think it's really cool, but they're kind of, I don't know. I think that especially based off of how they handled things with Halloween Kills, you know what I mean? Because who's going to answer for the town wrongfully making somebody commit suicide or
all the consequences.
Yeah,
I
mean,
military,
what are
is the military going to be brought in at some point? Are we actually going to get those people that they called from the other counties to come over and help?
Yeah, this town has lost their fucking mind. Well, like we've got to
The sheriff has lost all hope. Like he's just like, I can't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
It kind of this is a little off topic. It kind of reminds me of how when you watch an episode of South Park and some shit goes down and everybody just jumps to conclusions and everybody's freaking out and it just gets blown out of proportion. That's kind of what I thought of, honestly. It's just not obviously there's a serial killer in the loose, but there's just complete pandemonium, though. You know what I mean? Which
I can agree on that one.
But yeah.
Well, and that's really kind of my thinking, with the whole Tommy Doyle really kind of pumping everybody up to go take this son of a bitch on and take our town back or whatever, and then I don't know. I think that hopefully Halloween ends, regardless of what happens to Michael and what happens to Laurie, which, I mean, obviously, we hope that
somebody's going to be disappointed regardless.
Somebody's definitely going to be disappointed regardless. But at the same time, and kind of to the side, what was, the aftermath of everything that just happened, Michael being beat down by everybody and then him totally just standing up and totally just murdering everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What, and you not seeing Tommy Doyle actually be killed, I don't think you actually saw. I think you did see Karen be killed.
Yeah, she was being stabbed and there's blood all over her.
Okay, yeah. So, but you don't actually see what happens with. Okay, so yeah, we can go ahead and just assume that she was killed, but we don't actually see Tommy being killed.
No.
You know, and I think that maybe all of that was maybe like Michael's perspective or so, you know what I mean? And maybe like the next one will pick up from like, you know, I don't know, maybe Tommy's perspective or something. I'm not sure, but
they can go any direction with it, honestly.
Yeah, well, I know that what they did was intentional, you know, and just like how they handled, you know, leaving 2018 open-ended with, you know, him burning in the basement, you know.
Yeah.
It was handled well based on how they picked it up. You know what I mean? Because like when we saw when the trailer dropped for Halloween Kills, and you see him actually like get out, you know, and like take on the fire department and shit like that. Yeah, I was just like, oh my god, like this is like, you know, we're not just like toying around with the idea that there's just this like, you know, guy that might be able to survive this kind of shit, and like, you know, but he like straight up like walks right out to him and is just like,
he taunts them all, and then he makes his way through them and just carries on.
Yeah. Well, see, the way 2018 ended, I was just like, that's kind of lame, because like he's just like like burning in a basement, and like that's just how you're gonna.
Yeah.
That's how it ended. And
lock him down there and burn him.
When they announced that they were doing Halloween Kills, I was like, I knew he got out. You know what I mean? Like he kind of like you're almost kind of hoping he does. Yeah, you're kind of hoping he does a little bit, like, you know, or else like that would be a very like anticlimactic sort of way to take down.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, he burned. Cool.
Yeah.
Don't even see him burn. We just know he's down there burning.
Dude, like him surviving that, and like the mask being all charred up and shit. Like,
yeah, I need to get the new mask, and I'm actually gonna like, once I get it, there's a lot of people who are doing like mods to it to make it look more like the movie. So I'm gonna be doing that. This is obviously the 2018 one, and that's the original one. These are all from Trick or Treat Studios.
I have the same one, the from Trick or Treat Studios. You know.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, the 78, and I don't have the 2018 one or the honestly, like I'm a bit of a not so much like a purist.
There goes my wolf man.
So much. Oh yeah, nice.
I need to get the other ones.
I do love the nods to Halloween 3.
Me too.
You know, with the masks and things like that, and I thought it was almost kind of fitting that Michael like killed off the
he doesn't fit, but he's also really cool.
Nice. That's sick.
Wolfman. And I have Halloween 2. Bleeding eyes Michael. I need to get the bleeding eyes Michael.
That's pre blinded by 2 very, very lucky shots.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, you did good, girl.
I would have hit that guy in the shoulder with one, and I would have hit the wall with the other.
Yep.
And she got him in both eyes. I was like, man, what are the odds?
Puppet Master over here.
Nice. Yeah,
I have too much crap, man.
Puppet Master was amazing, man.
And then I never owned one of these as a kid. The bleeding scream Ghostface mask.
Yeah.
So I finally bought one of those.
The little pump.
That's awesome. I am I mean, totally, you know, off topic. But I'm pretty excited for the new Scream.
I don't know how I feel,
because honestly, like Scream is only a thing because of that's sick.
My son loves this one so much. He loves Sam.
That's a good one. But I mean, like, Scream is like totally like a love letter to Halloween.
Oh yeah,
100%.
I mean, even the fact that like the new Scream is only called Scream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The only thing I'm worried about the new one is that they're adding so many new characters. And I was telling Aaron, like, if they're going to add characters, I need character development. I can't just have them be in there and then killed immediately. So my two things that I want from the new Scream movie is I want Ghostface to be absolutely terrifying. I want to be scared of him, and I want to see him just do wacky things and just kill people. I actually want him to be scary, not on the same level as Michael, but like I want to be afraid, and I want a little bit of character development for all the new characters, and not just focusing on legacy characters and then killing off the new cast. That's all I ask for.
I'm a big fan of that whole like you're not sure like who's kind of lurking in the shadows kind of idea. You know what I mean? Like in Strangers, like in the first the Strangers movie.
Great movie.
Man, amazing movie. If you haven't watched that one recently, like throw that one on. It'll chill you out, man. Like you'll get
the pacing in that
chills.
movie is very good too.
Seriously. But so what was so awesome about it is, I mean, like these aren't supernatural people. Like these weren't just, any, entities or whatever the shit. Like these are just people in masks, just like hiding out, just, nothing to lose, I guess,
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really crazy. And when you think of characters like Michael Myers, you think of characters like Michael Myers. I mean, this isn't just a oh, what's this? Oh, sick.
Yeah, I got the new Fangoria, so they have Michael all over
sick.
it. So I can't wait to get that up. But continue.
You gotta frame that.
I'm going to. I just don't know where the hell to put it on my walls because I have so many posters over here.
Man, but yeah, no, I mean, so like it like Halloween, like with Michael Myers, I mean, the mask, you know what I mean, and you know that he's like, well, that you don't know, you know what I mean? Like,
there's a little bit of mystery to him.
Yeah, like I mean, quite a bit. And when you get to characters like Ghostface from Scream, I mean, this is just a person. You know what I mean? Like these are just usually just kids, or whatever, or somebody's
have a pretty thought out plan of what they want to do and know how to antagonize and
well, and it's all just kind of like based off of movies. You know what I mean? Like the whole idea was just kind of like basing things off of how things were handled in the old school scary movies.
Yep.
And I think that like when you get to characters like the killers in Scream or the killers in Strangers, or these films where the killers are just people, like no
like
different than the people that are being killed down. That's like that they're like the only like um ability or whatever the fuck is like their surroundings. You know what I mean? Like
fear and surroundings and knowledge.
Yeah, they're always just hidden and but other than that, I mean, usually by the end of the movie, they're demasked and you see who they are, and they're just like, shit, it was what's her name's ex-boyfriend, or whatever.
And I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
Exactly. So I mean, like, yeah, everything's just kind of like, and like maybe a jump scare there at the end, you know what I mean? But like, it's all just kind of like
predictable.
build up and then boom, big Scooby-Doo ending, And with Halloween, I mean, it was completely different, and like, I think 2018 ends in a pretty like similar regard to where 1978 ends.
Yeah,
where, like,
I agree with that.
Like
right.
they
Open-ended.
got him. Like Loomis showed up in the nick of time, put 6 in his chest, he got him, and then boom, he didn't get him.
Yeah.
And then Lori, it was certain that they took him out. Like she's celebrating and shit. Like we got it. Like let's get some hospital champagne in here because we got some shit to celebrate. Like he is dead, and he wasn't. And and like you get the same kind of feeling. And I think that it was interesting. The most like I have, like what interests me most about 1978.
Yep.
But I think the most interesting thing to me about 2018 and Halloween Kills is the reaction to everything. Like kind of because like in the beginning of the movie, you know, like Laurie knows that the bus crashed and she knows that Michael escaped. She shows up to Karen's house and like breaks in or whatever. Karen gets home, the door's open and shit, and Laurie jumps out and she's like, boom, you're dead. You know, just like big jump scare and was like, you don't have any fucking security systems, Karen, and like, you know, doing that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then she's like, the bus crashed. She's like, Michael escaped. We have to hunt him down. And they're like, you're being fucking ridiculous. You need to get out of here and quit waving that gun around and shit. So they ridiculed her. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Totally ridiculed her. And the pickup in Halloween Kills was, fuck, she was right.
Yeah.
We have to hunt this motherfucker down. Like that same energy that she had, you know what I mean? And she faced this thing on pretty much by herself. You know, everybody else just kind of trickled in, but it was her keeping everybody alive pretty much.
Yeah, that's true. And
so I think
lured him right. Well, he brought he was brought there, but she contained him in a certain area. And this one, he's just in the wild doing whatever the hell he wants.
She was the only one prepared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she was trying almost to the point of like, you know, this isn't mentally all right to be doing this. But like she was like trying to overly prepare everybody, you know, like ruin Karen's childhood and shit like that. And I think that you know, for everything to just sort of like, you know, Halloween 2018, you know, like she tried, you know, and then Halloween Kills, like everybody is just like, man, she was right about all of this, you know, and then like now everybody's rallied up so intensely that it's like beyond anybody's control. And like, you know, it's
gotta wait and see how it gets handled. Yep.
That's it, man. Like I know that like when the trailer gets here, I know we'll all kind of be like, oh, okay, hell yeah. We're back in. Like,
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping it's not like a slow one compared to how Halloween Kills was. Like I hope that.
Yeah, and okay, so I do have reason to believe that it could end up that way, to where like I think it was Jamie Lee Curtis that was explaining like whenever they announced that they were going to do 2 more, that basically like the next one is just intensity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
kills and everything.
All hell breaks loose. And then part 3 is the resolve.
Yeah, damage control.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I
agree. So I'm wondering, like, what does that mean? Because I mean, like, the one thing that kind of draws us all into Halloween in particular is, you know, almost kind of not knowing. Like, there's no real human element to Michael's, you know, madness or anything. Like, he's just kind of
there and just killing.
Yeah. So when you take all of that, and when you take everything that happened in Halloween Kills, and you wrap all of this together, you know, and you know, I mean, in the story, you know what I mean? Like,
gotta have
the only way to really do that. You know, I would imagine like the only real way to do that is like if he's captured, you know what I mean, or if he's like, you know,
actually put down once and for all.
Yeah.
And I really hope that's how it is. And like, even if Laurie makes it out or whatnot, I really hope that in some way Michael does get taken down. I do want Michael to be dethroned and everything at the end. I really do.
Yeah.
Laurie, she can live or she can die, and I think I might be okay either way.
She put up a fight, so on her way out, you know.
She's been through enough. I think that regardless, she'll be resting in either side of, you know, being alive or dead.
Yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to see what they're going to be doing, and it was also awesome to, you know, kind of have you on here, Logan, to as we kind of wrap things up here. It was very awesome to have you here and, you know, give us some of your thoughts. And I was really listening to what you were saying just to see if anything you were saying lined up with what I was thinking. For the most part it did, but it also kind of opened up my mind for a lot of other things. So I'm really excited to go back and watch 2018 again and go right into kills, or maybe just do 78, 18 and kills and just see how it all flows together. And just hope that when we get this trailer drop, which obviously won't be for quite a while, it will be somewhat satisfying. I think the first trailer probably won't be that much, and I'm probably only going to watch the first trailer because trailers nowadays really spoil a lot of things.
Yeah. Don't want to get too much in you.
Yeah, and I enjoyed this conversation a lot, and I really want to bring you back on. Maybe when the new Scream movie comes out, we can go ahead and do this again and kind of make you a repeated customer, so to speak.
I guess.
That's it. Man, you guys send me a shirt, man. Like I'm here whenever you need me, man. Like I'm always down.
Yeah, and I know that you love Halloween just as much as I do, and it clearly shows.
Yes.
I could talk about Michael like all day, every day, and just kind of like pick apart things of the way that I interpret it. And Aaron is more of a horror newbie, and that's why I have this show with him. So he learns. I
learn new shit every episode.
Yeah, he learns. Like I kind of already know things, but I'm always learning new things. And this was a great episode, and I really hope everybody out there who is listening now or listens to after really gets some more information and pulls away from this. And feel free to go join LKDrums streams and wherever else he wants you to go follow him on his Instagram. I know you have your Twitter and anywhere else. If there's anything that you want to say before we close out here, I had a really fun time doing this with you, man.
Oh man, it was an honor, honestly, man. And I love the fact that, like you just said, that you're almost a seasoned veteran when it comes to this kind of stuff, but Aaron's almost kind of new to the whole world, and I think that's very cool because to have a discussion like this, it's nice to have almost kind of different takes, you know what I mean, like common interests and different takes, different sort of approaches and things like that. And I think that makes for better conversations, honestly.
Exactly. And that's how I feel too.
Where like a fresh
Dustin, where you're coming from, like where Dustin's coming from, you know what I mean? Like is almost kind of a different direction from where Aaron would approach it, and I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, man, I love horror movies, man, and definitely Halloween, and this was awesome. Follow the channel if you'd like, and I play drums from time to time, but today I'm a horror movie fan. You know, and at the end of the day, when the drumsticks are wherever they end up after after those streams, man, like it's always just straight to the horror movies, man. That's where my heart is,
Yeah, same here, man. Like there's so many other things I do, but horror movies has always been a thing that I've always not really loved. Like I say a lot, like growing up I was scared of everything. I couldn't go into haunted houses, and then one day I forced myself to watch some horror movies, and I kind of like conquered my fear, and now I go through haunted houses like nothing and watch horror movies like nothing. Very little scares me, but when things do, it's very impactful and I enjoy it. I kind of wish I still had that factor, like as being like a kid, of being scared of everything and
like that innocence almost.
Yeah, and not being able to sleep at night. I do kind of miss that, but I also like how I am now because I can analyze these things and like really appreciate them for what they are. And horror movies are definitely very important in any culture, I feel, especially nowadays with everything that's going on. Like horror movies definitely speaks to like what's going on in the world. And I feel like Halloween Kills, in a way, definitely tackles some of that stuff, especially with the mob mentality and everything that's going on. It's like I was saying, some social commentary right there was definitely implemented. But yeah, this was absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to do more stuff with you, man.
Man, it'll be awesome. Anytime, guys. It's been great.
Any last thoughts with you, Aaron?
Just big thanks, to Logan for coming on. It was a blast talking to you. It was awesome hearing your opinions on the, classic and the new movie. And kind of, like he said, it kind of opened up our minds a little bit to, certain aspects of the movie, which
for sure.
But no, it was awesome having you on, man.
Right on.
All right, and this was the Baron's Hideout podcast. I was your host, Dustin.
And I was your co-host, Aaron.
And that was LK Drums, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for being here, and stay spooky.